In this tutorial we will be doing a quick walkthrough in creating your first ABC ability. This video will cover the core basics of setting up a fireball attack and give you a brief overview of the minimum configuration recommended when creating abilities. Other ability types like melee combat will be covered in a future tutorial. However, a lot of the options covered here are relevant to every type of ability. A further deep dive into all of the settings will be shown in a future video. To start, we are going to ensure that we have an action type character and enemy setup for ABC using the Global Portal Character Creator. The Global Portal can be accessed by first navigating to Window, then ABC, then Global Portal. With the character created, we will then proceed to make a global ability by navigating to the Abilities tab and then clicking the Add New Global Ability button found in the top right corner. This will prompt you to save a scriptable object which as a result creates the global element. This element will hold our new ability. In this example we have named the global element Fireball Tutorial. Once created, you will notice a new blank item appear in the ability list. Clicking the Info button will bring up the global ability in the inspector. From here we can give the global element an icon, a description and element tags to aid in filtering the global portal in future. Once done, we will proceed to click the Modify Abilities, which will bring up a new window ready for you to create an ability. In the new editor window that has popped up, we will first add our new ability by clicking on the Add New Ability button found in the bottom left of the editor. This will add the ability to the list ready to be configured. The first screen shown is the General tab and generally allows you to list details about the ability, select a graphic, travel speed, ability type and any preparation time. For now we will enter the name, icon and description of the ability. The name and description entered here is what will show on any UI linked to this ability, which will be covered in a future tutorial. With the ability created, we will now go ahead and add a link to the global ability on our character. This is done in the Global Portal by clicking the Add Ability button. If we now load up the character's ability manager from the ABC controller component, you will see that we have successfully linked the new ability. With the ability selected, we can easily go back to configuring it by clicking the Load Global Abilities button found at the top of the screen. This will select the scriptable object, allowing us to then go back to the Modify Ability screen by clicking the corresponding button in the inspector. Now we have the ability screen back open, we will continue to modify the ability. Let's continue to configure the ability further. We will now set a new graphic in the General tab. Once added, we have the choice to also scale the graphic to make it appear smaller or bigger. In this example we will also modify the duration, which determines how long the ability will appear after activation, and slightly adjust the speed of its travel. The last configuration is giving it a mana cost and a cooldown. The next step for configuration is choosing a key which will trigger the activation. To do this, we will navigate to the Key Combo tab found to the left of the ability settings. With the trigger type set to key, we will then select a key. The next step is to give the ability an effect. This effect will determine what will happen once the ability collides with another ABC character. In this case we want to apply damage by adjusting the character's health. More details on effects will be covered in a future tutorial, but for now we are going to link and add a pre-made global effect called Fire. This effect has been set up to apply damage and play an explosion hit effect. This we are going to head over to the Position Travel tab at the top of the settings. The Position Travel settings allows you to determine the characteristics behind the ability travel and the starting position from which it will appear from on initiation. In this circumstance we are going to choose Selected Target from the drop-down. This will make the ability travel towards the current target or soft target. Once the travel type has been chosen, you will notice different configuration settings appearing below to further modify the characteristics of the travel type. For our selected target example, we are going to make sure that the character activating rotates to the target. There are also options to ensure the ability always activates, which when ticked will have the ability fire in a straight line if no target is selected. If unticked, it won't activate unless a target has been acquired. Ticking the auxiliary soft target ensures the ability will fire towards the soft target if no main target is present. The continuously turn to target if ticked will make the ability always rotate towards the moving enemy, like a homing missile. Otherwise, if unticked, it will start in the direction of the enemy and keep heading in that same direction, allowing other characters to dodge the attack. With the travel type configured, we will turn our attention to the starting position. This is where the ability will appear from or attach to. For example, the character's hands are a weapon point. You can select where the ability will appear from using the drop-down. It is recommended for spells to use that self option and increasing the Y and forward offset so it appears off the ground in front of the player. Now we have added a graphic, an effect, set the travel position and configured where the ability should spawn from. We can now press play and see the progress we have made so far. It is now worth noting that if you make any changes to global elements whilst Unity is in play mode, that you will need to click the Refresh ABC button found in most editors. This will apply the changes to the game. This is only needed when the game is running. You can see examples of this being done with the change of the travel speed and graphic scale. We will now explore the Collider Impact section of the ability config. This section allows you to set for ABC to place a collider on the graphic which appears in-game. This collider is vital for interacting with environments and applying effects to other characters. With this tick, you can set for the collider to be marked as a trigger or not, and also set its radius and offset from the graphic origin. You will now see by selecting the ability in-game the collider, which currently has a radius of 0.5. If this is increased, then the collider will be bigger, making it easier for abilities to hit targets. The last tab under Collision Impact deals with impact effects, otherwise known as game juice. This section allows you to add camera shakes and time modifications to give abilities more of an impact. You also have the choice to modify game speed on impact and initiation, slowing down the game and putting emphasis on the activation of an ability and/or the collision. The last impact setting we will explore is the push entity on impact setting, which will move back the character hit by the defined amount. The last core part of our ability is to add animations. To do this, you will need to select the Aesthetic and Animation tab towards the top. This will display a number of different stages of an ability where animations and additional graphic effects can be added. For our ability, we will first focus on the initiating animations and graphics by selecting the Initiating tab to the left. To enable the animation, we first need to click the Use Initiating Aesthetics tick box, which will display additional configuration below. From here we can go ahead and enter an animation clip which will run when the ability is being initiated. ABC uses its own animation clip runner system, so there is no need to adjust the Unity animator. With the clip added, we will add the duration we want to run the animation for and the speed. The next step is to add a particle graphic which we want to show when the ability initiates. Alongside this, the duration of the graphic can be determined. Similar to the ability starting position, you have the option to select a graphic position for the initiation graphic. In this example, we are going to use the self-starting position, which will make the graphic show at the character's root position, so to aid with this we have set for the particle to appear up in the Y-axis from the root and slightly in front of the character. One of the most key settings of the initiation animation configuration is in the top right corner, labeled after Initiating Activate Ability, which is then followed by two options in a drop-down. After delay or at animation percentage. These settings let you determine at what point after the initiation animations runs the ability will spawn in-game, either after a delay or when the animation reaches a certain point. This lets you time exactly when the ability will appear after the character swings a sword or raises his hands to cast out a spell. In this scenario, for our animation selected, we want the ability to appear roughly 13.8% into the animation, when the hand has been waved across. To cater for this, we will change the drop-down in the top right corner to At Animation Percentage, and then adjust the slider to 14. To finish off this part of the configuration, we are going to tick to restrict movement whilst the ability is initiated. Putting 0 into the duration box will make ABC restrict the movement for the duration of the animation. Now with the fireball setup completed, we can test it out in-game. In a nutshell, the minimum configuration we recommend for an ability is the graphics, input trigger, effects, how it travels, where it spawns from, the collider and the animations. This concludes our tutorial on the core mechanics behind creating abilities. In future tutorials we will be extending the information learnt here further to cover creating different types of abilities like melee attacks and more. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to be notified of future tutorials where we will go over other ABC functionality.